Greetings, vinyl community. As a follow-up to my previous video in which I showed 7-inch singles by artists whose names began with the letter F, I had a request. This is from Bill at the Vinylverse, who wanted to see my King Crimson collection. He actually just said, "Oh, I'd like to see your Ks." I said, "Well, the letter K in my box has almost entirely just two artists, King Crimson and the Kinks." And he said, "Yeah, I'd like to see your King Crimson collection." I said, "Well, that can be arranged." So I'm going to show the King Crimson singles and then follow up with a few other notable K singles. And then I'll do an edit and just do a quick flip through of the Kinks singles because there are an awful lot of those, so I don't want to dwell too long on that. But let's get going with the King Crimson, starting at the beginning with the title track from the first King Crimson album, "In the Court of the Crimson King." This is a long song, so it's divided into a part 1 and part 2 over the two sides of the single. And this is a French pressing on the Philips label. So this is the original release of this from France, and it was followed up a couple of years later by this reissue, also from France, this time on the Island label, with the sort of lavender painted Island label. And again, it's part 1 and part 2 of In the Court of the Crimson King. And again, the image from the album cover, but instead of the front, it's the inner image of the 21st century schizoid man. Moving up to 1970, this is a British single of Cat Food with the non-LP B-side Groon. Cat Food appeared on the second King Crimson album, In the Wake of Poseidon, and lyrics are printed in pink on the back. And here is a German version of the same single with the same art and the same lyrics printed on the back from the EMI stateside label rather than Island. Now, King Crimson's not a singles band, so there aren't any singles from the next couple of albums. Here is a promotional single from the USA of, and it's actually an EP of material from the 1973 release of Lark's Tongues in Aspic. And this contains Easy Money and Exiles on side 1, and then the lengthy Lark's Tongues in Aspic part 2 on side 2. So of course we get just a black and white version of the cover image, very plain white label, and the text on the back. The next King Crimson album, Starless and Bible Black, produced a single that was released in various countries, and this is one of my favorite picture sleeves of all time, the Italian version of The Night Watch from Starless and Bible Black, with the opening track, The Great Deceiver, on the flip side. Just check out Robert Fripp's purple suede shoes. That's rock and roll. And there's the album cover on the flip side. And this is on that pink rim Island label. The French edition of the single is much less attractive, just a plain title sleeve. And this is like that Court of the Crimson King on the painted purple label or lavender label from Island, and just the Island logo on the back. In Germany, it was released with a photo in monochrome, but from the same session as that full-color picture that was on the Italian single. You can see that they're all in the same outfits. And we get some liner notes in German. How often do you see liner notes on a single? And from Spain, we get an image based on the gatefold from the Starless and Bible Black album. Again, it's Night Watch and the Great Deceiver, Dell LP Starless and Bible Black. And it comes in a little plastic inner sleeve with that pink rimmed label. And finally, the US promotional release. It's just the Night Watch. It doesn't have a B-side, so it's the stereo in blue, mono in red and white style of Atlantic promotional release. Nothing from Red, so then there was the hiatus, where King Crimson sat out the second half of the 70s and returned in the 80s with the revamped lineup that gave us Discipline. And there were a lot of singles released from the 80s albums in Spain. So this is a Spanish release of Thela Hunjinjit and Elephant Talk. And it's basically just the design from the album cover on the EG label. And next we get the British single of Heartbeat, backed with excerpt from Requiem. Again, it's just based on the album cover. There was a single released in Spain, or a version of this released in Spain with a slightly different design, the same design element, but just placed differently and given a richer blue color. Heartbeat and excerpt from Requiem, this time on a sort of blue-green EG label. And finally, the single from Three of a Perfect Pair, Sleepless, with the B-side Nuage, that which passes like clouds, this being the British edition, and the very similar Spanish edition, which just adds the Spanish translation of Sleepless as Sin Dormir. And to wrap up the King Crimson 45 section is this bootleg, King Crimson, or Crimson King, as it says, live at the venue, Act 1 and Act 2. This is recording from the Discipline Tour, 1981. The photos are actually not from King Crimson performance at all, but from one of Robert Fripp's solo Frippertronics performances. They have a track on here titled I Still Love Her, split over two sides. That's actually Neil and Jack and Me, which hadn't been released at the time. And these are poor quality recordings, so if you see this, do not buy it. Don't bother. It's just very rough, muffled sounding recordings from that tour, and you can hear much better for free elsewhere. So while moving on through the K section, following King Crimson, comes the King's Men and the Jolly Green Giant. Loved this song when I was 9 years old, 1965. The Jolly Green Giant. Musically, this is totally plagiarized from the song Big Boy Pete by the Olympics, only with the doo-wop part replaced by the names of various vegetables. And the lyrics tell the tale of an advertising icon in search of love. It's such a moving thing. And on the back is Long Green, which later became a hit for the Fireballs. Knox, from the punk band The Vibrators, and a cover of the Syd Barrett song Gigolo Ant. And this has involvement from Alex Chilton and Robin Hitchcock and Matthew Seligman from the Soft Boys. South African singer John Congos and He's Gonna Step on You Again from 1971, I believe. This is on the Elektra label. Very cool tribal sounding arrangement. The melody does sound a bit derivative of Come Together. It's not the most original piece of songwriting, but it's still very catchy and hooky and a very cool single. Lyrics on the flip. And finally, the only single I own by Kraftwerk from the Computer World album, Pocket Calculator, on this neon yellow vinyl and in the see-through printed plastic sleeve. Quite a unique little package. And the B-side is titled Dentaku. And let's do an edit here. Now, this could actually have been a whole separate video titled God Save the Kinks, in celebration of the United Kingdom having a male monarch for the first time in my lifetime. I'm going to flip through quickly the Kinks singles, and although I said I'm not going to dwell on any of them, like explain which country everyone is from, this first one really needs to be shown properly. This is from Holland, Tired of Waiting for You. And there are a couple of these singles from Holland that just have such an unusual packaging style, because the sleeve has this tab in a slot envelope, and that's how the record is held. It's on the pie label, as you can see. Let me just tuck that back in there. EP featuring Till the End of the Day with Where Have All the Good Times Gone, I'm on an Island, and What's in Store for Me. Rather a lot of these are from France. This is from Holland again in one of these same funny little envelope style sleeves, this time with the more British looking pie label. Another EP, not another EP, a single of Dedicated Follower of Fashion, backed with Sitting on My Sofa from Germany. From Denmark, Dedicated Follower of Fashion, Sitting on My Sofa again. These Boots Are Made for Walking is not on this single. Don't ask me what that's about. Rather poor condition, but a beautiful sleeve for Dandy from Germany, Party Line. Songs from my favorite Kinks album, Face to Face. I just love Face to Face. Dandy again, this time a French EP. Dandy with Rosie Won't You Please Come Home, Party Line, and Fancy. Again, all from Face to Face. Beautiful sleeve, I love that one. Dead End Street, Big Black Smoke, Session Man, and House in the Country. Wonderful EP. Mr. Pleasant, backed with This Is Where I Belong. Great sleeve. Pretty Polly and Wonder Boy. Is this backwards? Yeah, it should be. The front should be the one that highlights Wonder Boy. That's the A-side. Autumn Almanac, backed with David Watts. We're getting up to the something else from the Kinks era. Backside, front side, backside, front side. Take your pick. Choose your choice. Waterloo Sunset with David Watts, A Well-Respected Man, and Stop Your Sobbin'. Waterloo Sunset again, this time joined with Act Nice and Gentle, Mr. Pleasant, and This Is Where I Belong. Drivin' and Mindless Child of Motherhood. We're getting up to the Arthur album, followed by Lola with Ape Man and Rats. A very plain blank white side 2. Again, there's that pie label. American reissue single of Lola. Had to have that in the collection in order to have the 45 version of Lola with the Cherry Cola line replacing the Coca-Cola from the album version. Animals in the Zoo and Denmark Street. Interesting choice of songs. Getting up to the rock opera years, Hot Potatoes and Celluloid Heroes. I don't know why, yeah, Celluloid Heroes and Hot Potatoes. Hot Potatoes and Celluloid Heroes. On the back you get the B-side first, and on the front you get the A-side first. What a deal! Father Christmas, great seasonal staple. The live version of Celluloid Heroes and Lola from the One for the Road album. One from the Road. Better Things and Massive Reductions. Picture disc of Predictable and Back to Front on the B-side. And finally, Come Dancing, backed with Noise from the soon-to-be-released album by the Kinks. Watch for it. They don't tell you that it's going to be called State of Confusion. It's just the soon-to-be-released album by the Kinks. So there you go. That's the letter K. Thank you very much for watching. Be well, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.